If you are drafting out of the 8 spot in a 12-man PPR league this year, you've stumbled across the right video. First, I'm going to prove out exactly why we are running the strategy that we want to run in every single 12-man draft. And then I'm going to show off an expert mock draft where I picked up a group of 11 other. Some people make content, some of them don't, but they all really know what they're doing. Been playing fantasy football for over 8 years, and they're really good at fantasy football. Have made a ton of money on Underdog. Trust me, these guys know what they're doing. Let's get into it. Before we start our mock draft, I want to quickly go over how I determine my strategy for every single league that I play in. And what I do is I look at my WARP graph, which stands for wins over replacement player, and pretty much tells me how valuable each player is going to be relative to every other player at that position. So if we look at this graph, I'm going to quickly explain it. Each line represents a different position. The pink line is for our quarterbacks, the turquoise line is for our running backs, and the tan line is for our tight ends. The blue line is then for our wide receivers. And now each dot stands for a certain finish for that position over the last 5 years. So for example, we look at our x-axis position rank 18. We find that on the blue line means we're looking for wide receiver 18. We can see he gave us 4.17 wins over replacement, and that means he is going to be 4.174 points, WARP points, more valuable than what the replacement player would be. And what exactly the replacement player isn't as important as how much of an advantage each player is going to give you. So how we determine what our overarching strategy is going to be whenever we do this. So remember, this is set up for a 12-team PPR league. Look at the top left and we see what is the most important asset to have in this league. And we can see the number 1 dot is this turquoise running back 1 dot, which means the number 1 asset in a 12-man PPR league, full PPR, is a running back 1, which means if we ever have the opportunity to take a player who we believe can be the number 1 overall running back for any given year, we want to make sure we are drafting him. So the strategy we want to employ is going to be a hero running back. Let's learn what we're going to do with wide receivers. And if we look at the rest of the graph, we can see that our blue line, our wide receiver line, is above the turquoise running back line, which means wide receiver 12 is going to score more than, is going to be more of a more of a advantage over running back 12 and all the way down. So what we want to do is we want to take our hero running back and then just fill the rest of our team out with wide receivers, full PPR. That makes perfect sense. If we're lucky enough to get that running back 1, we're going to go get him. But, if so, and then one more thing we got to add, even starting with the second one, our second cluster here, if we are unable to get the running back who we believe is going to be the running back 1, then it makes sense to go ahead and take your other top wide receivers, your Justin Jefferson, not Jamar Chase. I'm taking Jamar Chase 101 no matter what this year. But that's, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, whoever you have ranked there. What's great about this is you can fill in the names for each ranking. If you think, someone else, if you think Nico Collins is going to be wide receiver 2, then fill him in here and just say, Nico Collins is going to give me this many WARP points. But let's talk about next what we are doing at our positional advantage positions. What we are looking at here, first, starting off with the quarterback, we can see that our elite cluster is what we want to be aiming for. We can see that position 1 or quarterback 1 through quarterback 4 is significantly more important than quarterback 5 through the rest of the list. So what we want to make sure we are drafting is, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, one of those top guys. But remember, you can still fill in whoever you want in this spot. So if you think Dak Prescott is going to return back to his 2023 form and finish as quarterback 3 again, you can say Dak Prescott's going to score here. I'm going to wait and I'm going to take Dak Prescott. I'm going to have an elite tight end. You think Justin Fields is going to break out? Go put him there. You think just anyone who can finish in the top 4, that's what we're looking for out of our tight ends. Now, Baker Mayfield was the last name I was looking for. Last year, quarterback 4. You think he's going to be there? Go take him. Tight end, unfortunately, a lot less fun. Only 3. We're looking for a top 2 tight end. Only 3 guys can fill it. It's going to be Kittle, Bowers, McBride. I'm trying to take them in every single draft possible. But if you do miss out on them, it doesn't really matter because after we get to tight end 6, it completely flattens out our line here. No one's really given us a huge advantage. The difference between tight end 7 and tight end 13 really isn't that drastic. If you miss out on one of the top 3 tight ends, just take whoever you like. Take Tucker Kraft, take Tyler Warren, take David Njoku, someone farther down the list. I would not recommend going for a Laporta, a Hawkinson, a Kelsey. Wouldn't recommend taking one of those guys, but that's how I determine all of, everything, every single draft. This is how I figure out my strategy. Remember, this is tailored for 12-team PPR. So if you are in a league like that, take a screenshot of this, use it for yourself. Let's hop into the mock draft. All right, we got our guys in here. Time to start our mock draft here. We're going to be starting with, we got the 8th spot here. Sure you want to start the draft? Of course we're ready. We want to start the draft. Let's see what these guys are all about. These experts. Some of these guys got, some of these guys create content. A lot of them don't, but we'll see how this goes. Definitely are looking for, as I have the sound on my phone for some reason. So that was fun. All right, so we go pretty, obviously pretty standard start here. We are obviously looking for Christian McCaffrey. That's who I want. Averaged like almost 24 points per game last season in full PPR. Last time he was healthy. Obviously, he's an absolute monster. Let's see. Saquon Barkley, that's obviously someone that we would have wanted going off the board there. Let's see. So it's going to be Gibbs. Honestly, don't think Gibbs has running back 1 upside, because when David Montgomery's there, he's still really, really good, obviously. He's going to be a top 6 or 7 running back locked in. But 101, I don't think so. My guy's still here. Come on. Bring me Christian McCaffrey. Also, people are asking, can Ashton Genty, we're going to get McCaffrey here, but people are asking me, can Ashton Genty be the number 1 overall running back? Of course he can. He's the best running back prospects in Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley was running back 1 as a rookie. It's possible. Saquon was on a terrible team, just like Ashton Genty is right now as well. So starting off with Christian McCaffrey, the goal here, you already know what it is. We're going hero, double E. That's what I call it. Hero running back, double elite positional advantage players. Hopefully we can get Brock Bowers coming around the back, but if I know Xander Beers, he's not letting Brock Bowers come back to me. We're probably going to go ahead and target Kittle in the 3rd round, but let's see how this draft goes ahead and works out. Obviously, we know we want we want an elite quarterback as well. Going to be too early to take one here, but right now Brock Bowers is easily the number 1 guy that I want. In half PPR, like on Underdog, Kittle is almost as good as Bowers, but in full PPR, Brock Bowers is definitely going to be the guy that we want to target a lot. Remember, McBride was almost as good as Brock Bowers, even though he only scored one touchdown and was in week 17. There goes Brock Bowers. Just kind of saw that coming. So we got AJ Brown. My next highest ranked guy is probably going to be our wide receivers, T. Higgins. He was points per game tight end or wide receiver 2 last season, even though he was injured a lot. But if he stays healthy, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be putting up a ton of points this year. Honestly, I think we're going to go with the strategy, and we're going to see how it works out. I know Trey McBride here at the 205 might seem crazy, but you guys saw the warp graphic just like I did. We're gonna reach, but we're gonna go ahead and take Trey McBride here, because I bet you I can outdraft these guys and go ahead and take more wide receivers at values later on in this draft. Oof. All right. But we're going to have to... so the wide receiver strategy is going to be... Let's just actually pull our graph back up. Honestly, it's actually 12-man. In 10-man, there's a little bit of a fall-off. 12-man, there really isn't. Just get the best guys you can. Obviously, you'd love them all to be top 30, but they don't have to be... They don't even have to be all that good to make a difference. That's what's good about deeper leagues. When you have 12 guys starting a bunch of players. I should mention this is start 2 wide receivers. So it's going to be start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's start 8, 12-man start 8. Deep-ish. Kind of standard for me. Honestly, a little bit shallow for me. I prefer drafts as deep as possible because it allows me to show off the fact that I know everyone. And usually the players in my draft don't know every single player the way I do, but let's see where it's going to go. My number one question here is how high is Chase Brown going to go? Because I do think, obviously, he's going to be a bell cow running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. He averaged 19.8 points per game after Zach Moss, the original starter for the Cincinnati Bengals, got injured last year. I'm not saying he's going to score 20 points per game this year, but if he does anything like that, it's going to be absolutely insane. Can't wait to see what Chase Brown is going to be putting up this season. All right, we got a lot of quarterbacks going off the board here because these guys are extremely well versed in my strategies. They know that I love the elite quarterbacks, so they're kind of playing around a little bit, making sure that they're taking them away from me. But there is one more elite quarterback still on the board. Actually, there's two. We got Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. I definitely think Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback because when he's healthy, he's been a top 8 quarterback every single year. The Cincinnati Bengals last season, game scripts were immaculate. And if you watched the Commanders versus Cincinnati Bengals last night on Monday night, you know that the defense didn't get better at all. They may have even gotten worse. Cincinnati Bengals are going to be playing a ton of very high scoring games, and Joe Burrow is going to be scoring a ton of points. The question is, do I let Joe Burrow fall and try to catch him on the wraparound? Let's take a look at who our wide receivers are and who we are going to be comfortable with taking as our wide receiver 1. My only league I've done so far was a home league against some of my friends. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them aren't as good. I had actually the same start from the 104 with McCaffrey and McBride. Then I went with Lamar Jackson, and my number 1 wide receiver was Jackson Smith-Njigba. Obviously, that's not going to happen in this draft. So I think we are going to risk it. We're going to try to stack Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. T. Higgins is easily my highest ranked wide receiver here still on the board. Love the value that we're able to get with T. Higgins there. James Cook is coming up boards, getting that new contract. He was a running back 1 last season, even with Josh Allen taking rushing touchdowns away from him. Kyren Williams, running back 6 last year. He has the highest usage in the league for any starting running back. Absolute monster in Kyren Williams. Everyone knows that. George Kittle off the board at 310, so it looks like Kittle would have been there for me if I took AJB. AJB is a tier ahead of Higgins for me, so I would have preferred to do that, but can't change that now. You can only predict these guys. You can't actually know what they're going to end up doing. We can just sit here and hope that Joe Burrow is going to come back around. Looking at the ADPs, he's kind of high in ADP. He's going to go at the turn there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pivot, and we're still going to pick up a stack. I know, again, Xander loves Mike Evans. Let's see if he takes Mike Evans. But I love Emeka Egbuka. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to pivot. Instead of a double elite quarterback, we're going to have to pick up a quarterback later in the draft. I'm just going to star him right now so everyone can see you can't see my queue, but Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and Justin Fields are my sleeper quarterbacks in every single draft. If this happens where we're not able to get double elite, Patrick Mahomes could bounce back, but I'm not going to count on that. Don't love the running backs on the board. Marvin Harrison Jr., really no reason to draft him all that high. He, was a great prospect, but his rookie season was not as good as it should have been, and there are definitely better values on the board. Honestly, this wide receiver, the problem with this pick here is the wide receiver values are really flat. So I feel like we can get another receiver coming around. Really wish I took Jalen Hurts instead of T. Higgins because I do think any of these guys could finish just like T. Higgins. The thing is Mike... So, all right, here's what we're going to do. The question is Baker come back around? 66, 5.6. We can go Baker Mayfield. All right, we're going to take a risk here, and we're going to go grab Mike Evans. He's going to put up 1,000 yards because he does it every single year. Some people are questioning, is his ceiling that much higher than that? Because, at the end of the year, they had to feed him a little bit last year, but he missed games. Mike Evans, we have no reason to believe that he's not going to be an elite wide receiver again next season. Excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. Really, I guess we're going to triple stack Buccaneers and hope it works. Stacking is, if you don't know what stacking is, taking the wide receiver 1 or, any wide receiver and the quarterback from any one offense. The idea behind it is when that offense has a good game, you're going to have a huge week because you're going to have a wide receiver doing well and the quarterback doing well. And when they throw a touchdown to each other, it's going to score you a ton of points. But hopefully we can get Baker Mayfield again. If he doesn't follow us, stacking matters a lot more in best ball than it does in lineup like this. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if we don't get Baker Mayfield. We're coming back around here, almost on the clock again. I'm getting a little bit worried about the second team is looking really good if they can find a really good tight end. Lamar Jackson with the hero and Bijan. and they were able to load up with 3 wide receivers who are all really good, but McConkey's dealing with an injury. Rashee Rice is dealing with a lot. We'll see how that turns out. I was really afraid of Team 1 until they took... I mean, I feel like they don't need a third running back this early, but maybe they do, maybe they don't. So let's see if we go ahead and we're just going to scroll all the way up here in our ADP. The first guy is James Conner, who we're not going to take because after we take Christian McCaffrey with our first round pick, the way I want to build out the rest of my running back room, I want to take one of the cheapest starting running backs, and then I want to take like Jerome Ford or Nick Chubb, just anyone who's starting week 1, and hopefully Christian McCaffrey can carry us the entire way, and then maybe one of those guys get into the end zone and score like 8 or 9 points. 2 years ago, I had Raheem Mostert in every single draft. Worked out really, really well. Last year, I had Chuba Hubbard in every draft. That worked out really, really well as well. So James Conner is going to come off the board early. I think David Montgomery is a really good value, but I just got to go ahead and take my highest ranked guy, and call me crazy, receives some hate for this, but Teteroa McMillan, I believe he is a pretty good prospect, not an elite prospect, but I believe that there are a ton of targets to go around in the Carolina Panthers offense. Xavier Leggett didn't put up enough yards in his rookie year, which would suggest to me historically that he's going to put up a really good career. So I do believe there are a ton of targets ready to be taken, and Teteroa McMillan is hopefully going to be the benefactor of all those targets. Am I playing it too risky letting Baker Mayfield go around? Don't think so, because like I said, lineup league, the stacking matters a lot less. Best ball, if this was on Underdog, would definitely be making sure we were taking Baker Mayfield, making sure we could set up that stack, hoping we could win a ton of money. The question is, so this next pick is going to come down to whether or not I like one of the wide receivers on the board. Love Travis Hunter. Oh, okay, I thought that was Hunter. Travis Hunter, I love him because he's a huge risk, and when there is uncertainty and risk, that's when you can get the boom guys that, fantasy football championships are won off of boom weeks. You want to make sure that you're taking enough risks, or you're going to come in like second or third or fourth place. We're not trying to do that. We want to win our leagues, which is why we are going to try some sort of risky strategy like this. I'm drafting this assuming that Christian McCaffrey is going to be the running back 1, the running back 2, the running back 3. If he gets hurt, the team's just done. And I'm perfectly okay accepting that, because let's say we took Henry, just in case Christian McCaffrey got hurt, and we do lose Christian McCaffrey, I'm not going to say, oh, great, I have Derrick Henry to fill in for him. I'm going to say, I didn't have a first-round pick. I'm in trouble. So it doesn't save you the way a lot of people think it does. But we just want to make sure that we're getting a great value every time we are on the board. I do have J-Mo still above Travis Hunter, but J-Mo's gone with this pick. If not earlier, I can guarantee you that. Going down the board at what other receivers we can take a look at. If we pull up Jerry Jeudy's stats, we can see that, pull up 2024, he really went off when Jameis Winston was the starter. 26, 14, 40, 28. When Jameis Winston wasn't the starter, this guy was just not that guy. And Jameis Winston is not starting for the Cleveland Browns. So that's why I do not have Jerry Jeudy anywhere close to the top of my list when it comes to wide receivers. Travis Kelce, honestly, guys, I know I said we wanted to take the risk on Baker Mayfield, but I'm going to take either Prescott or Fields. Fields averaged over 20 points per game in games that he started last season. Baker Mayfield, let's pull up his stats so I can illustrate my points as I'm talking about it. Last time Dak Prescott, I think I just called him Baker. Last time Dak Prescott was healthy, almost 30 points, 28, 38. I mean, quarterback 3. Just, the dude's a great quarterback. People love to hate on Dak Prescott, but he is a really good quarterback. Baker Mayfield, I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go because, I thought Jameson Williams was still on the board, but Jalen Waddle is also on the board. Calvin Ridley is also another huge breakout candidate for me, and it's because he is risky. We don't know what Cam Ward's going to be. He might be really, really bad, but he could be the next CJ Stroud. And what did CJ Stroud do? He supported a monster breakout for Nico Collins. The exact same thing can happen to Calvin Ridley. Jalen Waddle, also a guy who could absolutely explode. I'm hearing that he's taken over as the wide receiver 1 slowly but surely over Tyreek Hill. Pretty much the point I'm trying to make is draft any of these guys. The question is, who's the bigger swing? The number 2 overall pick in Travis Hunter or Calvin Ridley with a new rookie quarterback. All I got to say, I know it says DB and people are afraid of that, but Travis Hunter, the second overall pick, and he plays wide receiver. When are you ever going to be able to get another value like that ever in fantasy football? I was drafting Travis Hunter back in January and February on Underdog before the draft at an ADP of 154. Now he's picked up over 100 spots in ADP. People have keyed in on him. I mean, because I was telling everyone he was a risk, and that's why people didn't want to take him. But I was telling people there's a world where the Patriots take him at 2 and they say Travis Hunter, wide receiver. And what happened? Pretty much exactly that. The Jacksonville Jaguars traded up. They took Travis Hunter and they said he's going to play mostly wide receiver for us. If we watched game 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the preseason, Travis Hunter started with the starting wide receivers. The starting defense came out. He wasn't there. He's a backup defensive back, starting wide receiver. They have an offensive-minded head coach. We know exactly where their priorities lie when it comes to Travis Hunter. Oof, that's a little early for Mixon. Maybe he knows something that I don't. Travis Hunter, absolutely love the prospect. The dude is just built different. Has some of the best ball skills I've ever seen. It's like him and Justin Jefferson, the best ball skills you'll ever see. This dude is an absolute monster. We're just going to get ourselves lined up here. Like I properly predicted, still a ton of very serviceable running backs in this range. Even after we got 4 really good wide receivers, we are going to have to take a chance on a slightly worse quarterback than what I would like to take. But we are going to have to take that risk because these guys were, unfortunately for me, they were smart enough to take the elite quarterback and make sure I was not able to hero double E. But that's okay. That's okay. We're here to take risks. We're going to take a risk on Prescott or Fields later on in this draft. On the turn here, we got a couple more wide receivers and running backs going. The tight ends, we actually did have one tight end go. The tight ends are pretty much holding up. Not that we need one. Fortunately, Baker Mayfield's still making his way back around. The question is there really a big difference between Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott or Justin Fields? I mean, if you're not in on Justin Fields the way I'm in on Justin Fields, I absolutely understand it. No, I don't think he's a good real-life quarterback, but we're not playing real-life football. We're playing fantasy football. Let's take a look at what running backs are available. Quinshon Judkins, way too high up on sleeper ADP. Brian Robinson, who knows what's going on there as Baker Mayfield goes off the board. We have Hawk, Baker, Mixon. Okay, a little light at wide receiver, but that's the strategy. Is Ingram is going to be taken from me. We can take ETN, who I do like. Tyrone Tracy, terrible offense, but he has an opportunity there. Let's check if there are any wide receivers. We can start 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. So we already have 4 receivers. But if there's a guy that I'm really confident is going to be a top 28 guy, I do want to make sure I'm taking a chance on that receiver because I think I can get Jerome Ford or Nick Chubb down here later. And with this pick, I can take whoever is the best starting running back who's still on the board. So we're going to go ahead and take another wide receiver here. Jacoby Myers, I'm confident in. Chris Godwin, I'm not. I'm not. Matthew Golden, analytics are really, really bad in terms of fantasy football. The name I want to talk up was who I talked up in a recent video. Not Darnell Mooney. I lost him here. Oh, wow. We were way down the board. Ricky Pearsall, definitely a big dog. Pittman was a wide receiver 1 the last time we saw him with a real quarterback. The question is Daniel Jones a real quarterback, yes or no? And that's up for the people to decide. I'm going to take Jacoby Myers. I think he's easily the number 1 wide receiver currently available on the board. So my strategy is, my way of thinking is, I can find running backs who are going to be injured. I can handcuff running backs and find starting running backs later on out of free agency off the waiver wire. But these top-end wide receivers, top 28 wide receivers are almost never going to be there, which is why I'm going to make sure to draft them instead of go ahead and find them later. I mean, we can still see Caleb Johnson's a running back 3. Don't be fooled by the ADP. Brian Robinson, probably a good idea to hold off on him for now. Tracy you can draft. ETN is who I want to draft. Jalen Warren, running back 1 with upside. Don't love him though. Cam Scattaboo, injured, lower body injury. You don't want to touch that. Reach on Emeka Egbuka. I'm all in on Egbuka even at this price. I think he might even be the wide receiver 1 this year. But Baker Mayfield is more than capable of supporting 2 fantasy wide receivers. Remember, don't don't be off of Mike Evans if Egbuka is the wide receiver 1. Last season to start the year, Chris Godwin was the wide receiver 1. I think overall in fantasy to start, but Mike Evans still got his, as he always does. He's going to get his run again. I will disclose one of my biggest sleepers, my number 1 drafted running back on Underdog is going to be Javonte Williams, because he is the cheapest starting running back. I have invested about $500 into him. I know he's not good. You don't have to tell me that. I know he's not good, but he is a starting running back. Running back is all about touches. It's not about actual skill sometimes. When it comes to the top guys, yes, it's about skill, but just give me the touches, and hopefully they score a touchdown this week, or whatever week you are fortunate or unfortunate, however you want to look at it, enough to be starting them. Also, Jordan Mason could be a starting running back for the Vikings by the end of the year. Let's take a look at if they're, in this kind of league, even wide receiver 31, 30, way ahead of these running backs. Wide receiver 31 is 3.0. That were 3.1. We got to get running back 22. I do think Travis Etienne can finish as running back 22, so we can confidently go draft him as our running back 2 in this position. Although I do still like Ricky Pearsall. Jaden Reed should finish as a top 28 guy, as should Michael Pittman Jr. Ricky Pearsall goes off the board. Let's see who Xander Beers is going to go with here. I do know he likes Travis Etienne. Kyler Murray off the board before Dak Prescott. Very interesting. We're going to take Travis Etienne. I'm not super scared of the current backfield situation. I know they want to run a 2-back set, but if Liam Cohen, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, is able to turn up that offense the same way that he turned up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense last year, Travis Etienne could be an absolute steal at this price. Hopefully, let's see, we got MVP. He needs a quarterback. And Ball Don't Lie needs a quarterback. Outside of that, I do think we are going to be able to scoop up one of our quarterbacks late. And Bo Nix is still on the board as well. If you're not able to get an elite quarterback, don't love the Kyler Murray, the Bo Nix range. Don't love those guys. They're good. They're going to finish as like quarterback 6. But if we go back to our list here, let's isolate our quarterbacks. The difference between quarterback 6 and quarterback 10, not a whole lot. After quarterback 10, yes, there's a little bit more of a dip, but it's pretty straight the whole way. So don't feel horrible about as a double up at quarterback. Didn't see that coming. So I guess Bo Nix is not going to be on the board for us. 8-9 turns, so a bunch more wide receivers go off the board. Jordan Mason is one of my sleepers, as Caleb Johnson is going to go as this guy's running back 3. Guess he likes the prospect. He's going to hold on to him. I do think this is time where we are going to stop messing around and we're going to go ahead and take our starting quarterback. We're going to go ahead and take Dak Prescott as soon as we are on the clock after MVP makes his selection here. And then we're going to finish out this mock draft. We're only going to mock draft 10 rounds. We're going to finish it off with any starting running back. If it's Nick Chubb, I'd prefer Jerome Ford, but if it's Nick Chubb, it'll be Nick Chubb. And my strategy going forwards after this, I will probably pick up another quarterback. Actually, depends on how many quarterbacks are taken. Maybe I'll take a second quarterback, yes or no. But what I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm grabbing handcuff running backs, which are backup running backs, and we want to make sure we are getting handcuffs from good offenses. So we want to get someone like J.K. Dobbins. That's a good offense. Handcuff running back. If R.J. Harvey gets hurt, J.K. Dobbins should score a ton of points. Najee Harris, if he's healthy and Omarion Hampton is not, he'll score a ton of points. And then one of my favorite handcuffs is going to be Miles Sanders because he's running with the ones. Rashawn Johnson also running with the ones in Chicago. Whenever a handcuff running back is running with the ones, that means they're a handcuff plus, which theoretically means they are better. A handcuff plus is someone who is able to score points even if the starting running back is still healthy. So it would be like Zach Charbonnet last year or like Justice Hill, who sometimes has boom weeks even when Derrick Henry is still healthy over there for the Ravens. Let's see, we got a lot of thinking going on for this pick, Mr. The 9-7. A lot of thinking going on. Where do we think this guy's going? Doesn't have a quarterback. He is a Vikings fan, so it could be J.J. McCarthy. That's another thing you want to do. Everything, it's Jared Goff. Everything that you can learn about your teammates, you want to learn about them. You want to figure out their draft tendencies. You want to figure out which players they like, which teams they like. For example, earlier I predicted this Brock Bowers pick. That didn't matter in this sense, but sometimes it will. If you are like at the 11 spot and you have to predict what the 12 is going to do, then knowing your opponent can help out a ton. We already talked about this pick. Easily Dak Prescott. We can pull up his stats one more time. Show player card. 2024. Start wasn't so hot. Actually, probably because that's the wrong year. 2023. Start wasn't so hot, but my goodness, after week 8, tons of points. Quarterback 3 overall. Don't overthink taking Dak Prescott. I don't expect him to finish as quarterback 3, but maybe we'll get quarterback 5 or 6 out of him. Slightly outside of our elite range, but maybe with a little bit of injury luck. If Lamar Jackson misses some games, Josh Allen misses some games, then Dak Prescott, it will be his time to shine again. One thing I do want to mention, when he was quarterback 3 overall, it was a down year for quarterbacks. So if it is a normal year for quarterbacks, we will not expect him to be drafted or be ranking as highly as 3. Let's see. Javonte Williams, I'd love to pick up. So let's just go ahead and star our guys here. Javonte, Nick Chubb, as Dobbins goes off the board. I will never understand taking a backup running back over a starting running back. That's back-to-back backup running backs over a starting running back, who's then Javonte Williams is going to go off the board. Okay. Can we find, who is that? Scadaboo. I think Scadaboo has next Bucky Irving written all over him. He was amazing against Texas in the college football playoff. So is Chubb going to be our best option here? I don't think so. I believe Jerome Ford he has a non-zero chance of being the Cleveland Browns starter all season if he's able to stay healthy. We still don't know when Quinshon Judkins is going to be back. I know Quinshon Judkins is a lot more talented than Jerome Ford is, but he hasn't warmed up. So even if he does come back and play, he might come back and get injured. That was probably not a good way to say that. Even if he does come back from his legal issues, he is at a higher risk of injury, especially when you're playing running back, taking a ton of hits, cutting a bunch. Those guys are always prone to a ton of injuries, which is why we want to make sure we are handcuffing our running backs and able to get we are counting on injuries of every other player. One more strategical point that I want to put out is I don't want to handcuff my own running backs because, like I said before, if Christian McCaffrey gets injured with this build, I'm just going to wave the white flag on that team. If everyone around you really knows what they're doing in playing fantasy football, if you lose your first round pick, you're not going to be competitive. So what you want to do is you want to handcuff the other top running backs and then prey on the downfall of your league mates. So in this league, you would pick up maybe Will Shipley, Tyler Algier. Emmanuel Wilson is currently the handcuff for Josh Jacobs because Marshawn Lloyd can't stay healthy. He wasn't healthy at South Carolina. Transferred to USC where he was for, I believe, only 1 year, but he was good at USC. But the best ability is availability. Make sure you stay on the field. Marshawn Lloyd doesn't do that. So we're going to finish off this draft at this turn, but we can just take a look at our roster that you guys definitely can't see, but you can see the pictures. So if you like learning from pictures, we got T. Higgins as our wide receiver 1, Mike Evans as our wide receiver 2. Guys who don't have a ton of consistency, but any given week, Mike Evans or T. Higgins can win you that week. Love the way this team has worked out. Of course, I wish we got Joe Burrow instead of Dak Prescott, but hey, you can't have everything, especially when you're drafting with another group of experts, guys who know what they're doing. You can't always have exactly what you want, but what we have is, we got hero running back, elite tight end, filled it out with other wide receivers who could theoretically finish in the top 28. Jacoby Myers is included in that group. So that's what we got for this mock draft. Hope that if you are in your draft with your friends, drafting out of the 8 slot, hopefully you could have learned something and taken away something from this video. But if you did stick around and watch for this long, thank you for watching the video. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and thanks for watching.